Ladies and gentlemen, life doesn't begin tomorrow, next week, or after some distant milestone we keep imagining. It's happening right here, right now. Yet so many of us fall into the illusion of waiting for the right time, waiting for circumstances to align, waiting to feel ready. But the truth is, life is not a rehearsal, and the stage has already been set. Today we'll explore how to break free from the habits and illusions that hold us back. It's time to let go of the waiting game, embrace the present moment, and start living fully. No more wasted years. The habit of waiting is one of the most subtle and pervasive traps of human existence. It disguises itself as prudence, as patience, as preparation. But underneath these seemingly virtuous labels lies a deeper truth. Waiting is the act of postponing life. It is the illusion that some future moment will be more worthy of living than the present one. We wait for the right time, the right opportunity, the right set of circumstances to align perfectly. And in that waiting we unknowingly let precious moments slip away, moments that we will never get back. Consider how often we tell ourselves, I'll be happy when, or I'll start living my life when this happens, or that changes. Maybe we're waiting for the perfect job, the perfect partner, or the perfect amount of money in the bank. Maybe we believe we need to reach a certain age, achieve a certain level of success, or overcome some internal flaw before we're ready to truly live. But here's the paradox: life doesn't wait for us to feel ready. It moves forward relentlessly, second by second, day by day, year by year. The time we spend waiting for some imagined future is time we could have spent embracing the beauty and complexity of the present moment. The truth is, there is no such thing as the right time. The right time doesn't exist because it's not a point we arrive at, it's something we create. The present moment is always ripe with potential, no matter how imperfect it seems. The imperfection itself is part of the beauty, part of the experience. Life is messy, unpredictable, and often chaotic, but it is also vibrant, dynamic, and astonishingly alive. To wait for perfection is to miss the point entirely, because perfection is an illusion, and the real magic of life happens in the unpolished, unplanned, and unexpected moments. We convince ourselves that waiting is a form of preparation, that we're simply getting ready for something bigger and better. But this mindset can become a prison. Preparation becomes procrastination, and procrastination becomes paralysis. We start to believe that we need more time, more skills, more resources, more confidence before we can begin. And while we're busy preparing for life, life is happening without us. The years go by, and one day we look back and realize that we spent so much time waiting for the future that we never truly lived. But what if we stop waiting? What if we recognize that this moment, this imperfect, ordinary, unremarkable moment is enough? What if we embraced it fully with all its flaws and uncertainties? What if we chose to live now instead of waiting for a someday that may never come? The act of living is not something that happens in the future, it's something that happens now, in this very instant. And the more we focus on the present, the more alive we become. This isn't to say that we should abandon all plans or goals. Goals give us direction and purpose. But there's a difference between setting goals and postponing our happiness until we achieve them. We can work toward the future while still living in the present. In fact, the most successful and fulfilled people are those who have learned to do both. They don't wait for their lives to begin, they live fully while striving for what they want. To stop waiting is to step into the flow of life, to accept that we are already in the middle of the story. There is no need to wait for the perfect opening line or the perfect plot twist. The story is unfolding right now, and every moment is an opportunity to shape it. When we let go of the illusion of waiting, we open ourselves up to the richness of the present. We start to see the beauty in the small things, the way the sunlight dances on the leaves, the sound of laughter, the feeling of connection with another human being. These are the moments that make life worth living, and they are happening all around us all the time. So let's stop waiting. Let's stop postponing our dreams, our happiness, our lives. Let's stop telling ourselves that we need more time or better circumstances. The only thing we need is the courage to embrace this moment, just as it is, and to live it fully. Because life isn't something that happens later, it's happening now. And the only question that matters is whether we're truly present to experience it. Fulfillment is not a destination, nor is it some grand achievement waiting at the end of a long, arduous journey. It is something much closer, much simpler, and far more profound. It resides in the here and now, in the quiet moments we often overlook and the ordinary experiences we take for granted. Yet so many of us fall into the trap of chasing fulfillment in the future, believing it to be a reward for our efforts rather than a state of being we can access at any moment. We convince ourselves that once we accomplish this or obtain that, we'll finally feel whole. But this way of thinking sets us on an endless treadmill, where each milestone achieved only pushes fulfillment further out of reach. Life, as it turns out, isn't waiting for us to arrive somewhere before it allows us to feel complete. It is unfolding moment by moment, offering us countless opportunities to experience joy, connection, and meaning. The key is not to seek these things in some distant horizon, but to recognize them in the present. The laughter of a loved one, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the rhythm of your own breathing, these are not mere details. They are life itself, rich with meaning and beauty if we only pause to notice. But why is it so hard for us to embrace this? Why do we so often overlook the present in favor of some imagined future? Part of the answer lies in how we've been conditioned. From an early age, we're taught to delay gratification, to work hard now so we can enjoy life later. We learn to measure our worth by our achievements and to place our hopes for happiness on external circumstances. As a result, we develop a habit of projecting our fulfillment outward, attaching it to things we don't yet have or moments we haven't yet reached. This habit, though seemingly harmless, is one of the greatest thieves of joy. It creates a gap between where we are and where we think we should be, and in that gap we lose the ability to fully appreciate the present. We become so focused on what's next, what we need to do, where we need to go, who we need to become, that we fail to see the richness of what's already here. The irony is that the present moment is the only moment we truly have. The past is gone, and the future is not guaranteed. To spend our lives dwelling on what was or worrying about what will be is to miss the one thing that is real now. Fulfillment is not something we achieve, it is something we experience. And that experience begins with presence. When we bring our attention fully to the here and now, we unlock the door to a deeper sense of contentment and peace. We stop waiting for life to get better or easier, and instead we find beauty in what already is. This doesn't mean we stop striving for growth or change, it means we stop postponing our happiness until those things happen. Presence is not a passive state. It is an active choice to engage with life as it is, rather than as we wish it to be. It requires us to let go of our preoccupation with the past and the future, and to immerse ourselves fully in the moment. This can be challenging, especially in a world that constantly pulls our attention in 1,000 directions, but the rewards are immense. When we are present, we see life more clearly, feel more deeply, and connect more authentically with ourselves and others. Imagine how much more vibrant your life could be if you approached each moment with curiosity and openness. Instead of rushing through your days, you could savor them. Instead of fixating on what you lack, you could appreciate what you have. Instead of fearing the unknown, you could embrace it as part of the adventure. This shift in perspective doesn't require any external change, it only requires a willingness to see things differently. The fulfillment is not waiting for you in the future. It is here, in the beating of your heart, the air filling your lungs, and the world unfolding around you. It is in the smile of a stranger, the rustling of leaves in the wind, and the quiet moments of reflection. It is in every step you take, every breath you draw, and every choice you make to be fully present. Life is not something that happens later. It is happening now, and the more present you are, the more deeply you will experience its wonder. We are born into stories. Some are handed down by our families, some shaped by the culture we live in, and some formed by our own fears and insecurities. These stories are often comforting because they provide a sense of structure and predictability. They tell us who we are supposed to be, what we should aspire to, and how we should navigate the world. But as comforting as these stories may seem, they can also become cages. They limit us, defining not only what we believe we can do, but also who we believe we are. The problem with living by a script is that it often doesn't reflect our true selves. It reflects expectations, those of society, family, or even our younger selves who didn't yet know the fullness of life. We follow these scripts because we think they will lead to happiness or success, yet we often find ourselves feeling empty, unfulfilled, or restless. We wonder why, even when we seem to be doing everything right, something still feels wrong. And this disconnection occurs because the script isn't ours. It's a borrowed map, guiding us toward destinations that may not align with our authentic desires. And the longer we follow it, the harder it becomes to imagine another path. We get caught up in roles and routines, convincing ourselves that this is just how life is meant to be. But deep down, there's often a quiet voice, a whisper of truth that tells us otherwise. It reminds us that we're not truly living, we're just going through the motions. To break free from the script, we must first recognize it for what it is, a construct. It's not reality, it's a narrative. And like any narrative, it can be rewritten. This realization is liberating because it means we are not bound by the stories we've been told or the ones we've told ourselves. We have the power to create a new story, one that reflects who we truly are and what we genuinely value. Rewriting the script requires courage because it often means stepping into the unknown. It means questioning long-held beliefs and challenging the status quo. It means taking risks and being willing to fail. But more than anything, it means listening to ourselves. Not the noise of the outside world, but the inner voice that knows what brings us joy, what sparks our curiosity, and what gives our lives meaning. This process isn't about abandoning responsibility or rejecting everything we've been taught. It's about discerning what resonates with us and letting go of what doesn't. It's about understanding that we are not static beings, we are dynamic, ever-changing, and capable of growth. What worked for us in the past may not serve us now, and that's okay. There is no shame in outgrowing a story. When we free ourselves from the script, we begin to see life differently. We stop viewing it as a series of boxes to check off or roles to play. Instead, we see it as an open field of possibility. We realize that we don't have to follow a predetermined path, we can forge our own. And in doing so, we tap into a sense of aliveness that is often missing when we live by someone else's rules. The beauty of rewriting your story is that it's never too late to begin. It doesn't matter how far along you are or how deeply entrenched you feel in the old narrative. Every moment is an opportunity to choose differently. It starts with small steps, a single decision, a shift in perspective, or a willingness to explore something new. Over time, these small changes accumulate, and before you know it, you've created a life that feels authentic and true. Imagine what it would be like to wake up each day knowing that you are living in alignment with your deepest values, to pursue what excites you, to spend time with people who uplift you, and to contribute to the world in ways that feel meaningful. This is not a fantasy, it's a possibility that becomes real when you give yourself permission to break free from the old script. You are not the labels you've been given, the roles you've been assigned, or the expectations you've internalized. You are something far greater, a unique, creative, and powerful being with the ability to shape your own destiny. The world doesn't need you to fit into a mold, it needs you to be fully yourself. So let go of the script that no longer serves you. Trust that your intuition will guide you toward a life that feels rich, vibrant, and uniquely yours. The story isn't over, it's just beginning. The desire for control is one of the most persistent and deeply ingrained tendencies in human nature. We want to know what's coming next, to plan for every possibility, to avoid discomfort, and to ensure outcomes that align with our expectations. This drive for control is born out of fear of uncertainty, failure, pain, or loss. We cling tightly to the idea that if we can just manage every variable, we'll be safe, successful, and happy. But this is an illusion, and the pursuit of control often causes more harm than good. Life, by its very nature, is unpredictable. It ebbs and flows, twists and turns, and refuses to be contained by our plans. No matter how carefully we map out our lives, there will always be detours, surprises, and challenges that we couldn't foresee. This isn't a flaw in the system, it's the essence of existence. The more we try to fight this, the more we struggle. It's like trying to hold water in our hands. The tighter we squeeze, the more it slips through our fingers. Yet we persist in this struggle, because we've been taught that control equals security. We try to control our relationships, our careers, our environments, and even our emotions. We create rigid plans and set lofty expectations, believing that they will shield us from the chaos of life. But when things don't go according to plan, as they inevitably won't, we feel anxious, frustrated, and defeated. We blame ourselves or others, thinking that the problem lies in our lack of effort or foresight. In truth, the problem lies in our refusal to accept the inherent uncertainty of life. Letting go of control doesn't mean giving up or becoming passive. It means shifting our focus from controlling outcomes to embracing the process. It means recognizing that while we can influence certain aspects of our lives, we can never dictate them entirely. This realization is not a sign of weakness, it's a profound act of wisdom and strength. When we let go of the need to control, we free ourselves from the constant tension of trying to force life to conform to our will. This isn't an easy shift to make. It requires us to confront our fears and to trust in something larger than ourselves, the flow of life itself. It requires us to believe that even in uncertainty there is beauty, opportunity, and growth. Instead of clinging to what we think should happen, we open ourselves to what could happen. We allow life to surprise us, to teach us, and to lead us in directions we might never have chosen, but that turn out to be exactly what we needed. Think about the moments in your life that have brought you the most joy, love, or insight. How many of them were meticulously planned? And how many were the result of unexpected encounters, serendipitous events, or decisions made in the spur of the moment? Often it's the latter that leave the deepest impressions. This is because the magic of life doesn't lie in its predictability, it lies in its spontaneity. When we release our grip on control, we also release the heavy burden of perfectionism. We stop trying to orchestrate every detail of our lives and start appreciating the beauty of imperfection. We become more flexible, more resilient, and more open to change. The challenges become less daunting because we no longer see them as failures of our planning, but as natural parts of the journey. We learn to adapt, to pivot, and to find meaning in even the most unexpected circumstances. This doesn't mean we stop making plans or setting goals. It means we approach them with a sense of fluidity rather than rigidity. We take action, but we remain open to the possibility that things might not go as expected, and that's okay. In fact, it's more than okay, it's an invitation to grow. Every time life deviates from our plans, it offers us a chance to learn, to expand our perspectives, and to discover strengths we didn't know we had. Imagine living without the constant need to control. Imagine waking up each day with curiosity rather than anxiety, wondering what new experiences and opportunities might unfold. Imagine trusting that even when things don't go as planned, you have the resilience to adapt and the wisdom to find meaning. This is the freedom that comes from letting go. Life is not a problem to be solved or a puzzle to be completed. It's a dynamic, ever-changing dance. And just like in a dance, the joy comes not from knowing every step in advance, but from moving with the rhythm, responding to the moment, and losing yourself in the flow. When you let go of control, you stop resisting life and start participating in it fully. You stop fearing uncertainty and start embracing it as a source of possibility. You stop trying to shape the world to fit your expectations and instead allow yourself to be shaped by the world in ways you never imagined. Life is often approached as though it's a race with a clear finish line, a goal to reach, or a prize to win. We plan, hustle, and measure our progress against milestones, always striving to be faster, better, or further along. But this mindset overlooks the very essence of what life truly is. Life isn't a finish line, it's a dance. It's not about reaching some ultimate destination, it's about fully immersing yourself in the rhythm of the moment, letting yourself be swept up in the music of existence and finding joy in the steps along the way. When we treat life like a race, we impose unnecessary pressure on ourselves. We start to believe that every moment must be productive, every action must serve a purpose, and every day must bring us closer to some grand achievement. In doing so, we rob ourselves of the simple pleasures that make life meaningful. We lose sight of the beauty in the ordinary, the laughter of a friend, the feel of the wind on our skin, the warmth of a cup of tea. These moments may not contribute to our so-called progress, but they are the very essence of living. The truth is, life has no final destination. Even if we achieve our goals or fulfill our dreams, there is no point where we suddenly arrive. There's always another challenge to face, another horizon to explore, another layer of growth to uncover. This is not a flaw, it's a gift. The endless unfolding of life means that we are always in motion, always evolving, always discovering. The beauty lies not in what we achieve, but in the process of becoming, in the journey itself. A dance has no purpose other than to be danced. You don't dance to get to the end of the song, you dance to experience the joy of moving to the music. Life is much the same. Its value isn't found in the future or in some grand accomplishment, it's found in the here and now. It's in the way you greet each morning, the care you put into your relationships, the energy you bring to your passions. It's in the way you show up for yourself and others, not because you're trying to get somewhere, but because being present is its own reward. This perspective doesn't mean we abandon our ambitions or stop striving for growth. It means we shift our focus from the outcome to the experience. Instead of asking, "What will this get me?" we ask, "How does this make me feel?" Instead of fixating on what's next, we immerse ourselves in what's now. We find fulfillment not in the end result, but in the effort, the creativity, and the connection that the journey brings. Letting life be a dance also means embracing its unpredictability. Just as no two dances are ever the same, no two lives follow the same path. The music changes, the tempo shifts, and sometimes we stumble. But even the missteps are part of the dance. They teach us grace, resilience, and the ability to adapt. They remind us that perfection is not the goal, participation is. The joy of life isn't in getting everything right, it's in showing up, moving to the rhythm, and letting ourselves be carried by the flow. Imagine approaching your days as though they were part of a grand dance. Instead of rushing from one task to the next, you could pause to appreciate the moments in between. Instead of striving for perfection, you could allow yourself to experiment, to play, to explore. Instead of fearing the unknown, you could welcome it as an opportunity to learn new steps. This isn't about doing less or lowering your expectations, it's about experiencing more by being fully present. The most extraordinary dancers aren't the ones who execute every move flawlessly, they're the ones who lose themselves in the music, who radiate joy, and who inspire others to join in. In the same way, the most extraordinary lives aren't the ones filled with the greatest achievements, but the ones lived with the greatest passion, curiosity, and authenticity. These are the lives that leave an impression not because of what they accomplish, but because of how deeply they engage with the world. You are already in the dance of life. The music is playing, the floor is yours, and there's no right or wrong way to move. All that's required is that you step into it fully, letting go of the need to control, impress, or achieve. And trust in the rhythm, follow your instincts, and allow yourself to be fully alive in every moment. Because the goal of life isn't to cross a finish line, it's to live the dance so beautifully, so boldly, that when the music finally stops, you'll look back and know that you didn't just exist, you truly lived. Have you ever noticed how the greatest power often lies not in what is said, but in what is left unsaid? We live in a world that constantly demands our reaction. Every insult, every judgment, every challenge calls for our response. And yet the most profound response is often no response at all. To remain still, to refuse to be pulled into the whirlwind of noise, is not an act of weakness, but of immense strength. When you do not respond, you are not ignoring, you are transcending. You are stepping beyond the need to prove, defend, or explain. In that silence there is mastery. Silence is not merely an absence of words, it is the presence of something far greater. It is the quiet space where wisdom takes root, where the mind is no longer shackled by the need to react. When someone hurls words meant to provoke, they expect resistance. They expect you to be pulled into their storm, to wrestle with them in the chaos of their own making. But when you give them nothing, no anger, no defense, not even the validation of your attention, what happens? Their words dissolve into the emptiness. The fire they tried to ignite has no air to burn, and in that moment, you become something untouchable. Most people react because they believe they must. They fear that silence implies surrender, that to say nothing is to admit defeat, but in truth, it is the opposite. Silence is a stance of power, a refusal to be dictated by the turbulence of the world. It is a reminder that you are not a puppet, that your energy is not so easily seized. The moment you feel the need to explain yourself, to justify your actions to those who do not seek understanding but only to provoke, you have already lost something, your peace. But when you do not respond, when you allow the moment to pass like wind through the trees, you reclaim your sovereignty. The mind craves control, and yet the greatest control is found in letting go. Have you ever been in an argument where words escalate, where each response builds upon the last until neither side even remembers what was being fought over? The illusion of control keeps you entangled, believing that if you could just say the right thing, make them see your perspective, you would win. But there is nothing to win. The need to win is the trap itself. True mastery is understanding that you do not have to play every game you are invited to. The moment you step back, you see it for what it is. A game of ego, a battle of illusions, a noise that will fade the moment you no longer participate. When you withdraw your response, something incredible happens. The world pauses. The ones who sought to control you with their words must now sit with their own thoughts. They are left with nothing but the echo of their own actions. And in that space, a mirror is held up to them, forcing them to confront themselves. Often, they will grow uncomfortable. They will push harder, raising their voices, throwing more words, desperately seeking engagement. But if you remain still, if you refuse to be pulled in, the storm they created eventually runs out of energy. To not respond is not to suppress. It is not to bottle emotions or avoid confrontation out of fear. It is to consciously choose where your energy flows. It is to know that not every battle is worth fighting, that not every attack requires a defense. It is to trust that silence carries its own weight, a force greater than words. This does not mean you never speak, but that when you do, it comes from a place of clarity rather than reaction. There is immense freedom in understanding that you do not have to respond to everything that seeks to pull you in. You are not obligated to explain yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You do not have to engage with every argument, every insult, every provocation that crosses your path. The world will always try to pull you into its chaos, but you are not the chaos. You are the observer, the awareness behind it all. And when you master the art of silence, when you realize that no response is often the most powerful response, you step into a life of peace, a life where you are no longer controlled by the noise, but instead move freely through it, untouched and unshaken. We spend so much of our lives trying to control the uncontrollable, believing that if we say the right thing, argue well enough, or react quickly enough, we can shape the world to our liking. But this is the great illusion. The moment we try to control everything is the moment we become prisoners of it. What if the real power was not in reacting, not in grasping, but in letting go? There is a profound wisdom in realizing that not everything requires your participation. Not every opinion needs your counterpoint, not every insult needs your defense, and not every argument needs your presence. Sometimes the greatest response is to give none at all. When someone speaks against you, criticizes you, or tries to provoke a reaction, What they are truly doing is extending an invitation. They are asking you to step into their world, to play their game, to operate by their rules. The moment you engage, you are no longer standing in your own space. You have entered theirs. And in doing so, you have given them power. You have placed your peace in their hands, allowing their words and actions to dictate your state of mind. But when you choose not to respond, when you let their words drift into the void without grasping at them, you remain where you are, rooted, untouched, free. People react because they feel compelled to, as if silence is some kind of admission of guilt or weakness. But it is neither. Silence is a mirror. It forces people to face themselves, to sit with the weight of their own words. Most people are not comfortable with this. They rely on your reaction to validate their position, to give meaning to their attack. Without your response, their words hang in the air, unanswered, unresolved, powerless. They begin to question themselves, to wonder why they are shouting into emptiness. And often, that silence does far more than any argument ever could. When you do not respond, you create space, and in that space there is clarity. You begin to see how much of life is a game of reaction, how often people seek to pull you into their storm because they are unable to sit in stillness themselves. A person at peace does not seek to provoke. A person who is truly confident does not need validation through conflict. And so when someone pushes for a reaction, they are revealing something about themselves, not about you. Their need to be heard, to be right, to be acknowledged. It is all about them. The moment you recognize this, you stop feeling the need to respond. You stop seeing their words as something you must battle. You simply let them be. This does not mean you allow yourself to be walked over. It does not mean you accept disrespect or mistreatment. But there is a difference between standing in your power and wasting your energy. You can walk away without a word and still hold your ground. You can refuse to respond and still maintain your dignity. Strength is not in how loud you can be, but in how deeply you can remain still. There is no greater display of self-control than the ability to choose where you place your energy, to decide for yourself what is worthy of your attention. We are conditioned to believe that we must always have the last word, that winning an argument means proving the other person wrong. But what if true victory is in not engaging at all? What if the most powerful stance is to remain silent and let the noise pass? When you master the art of no response, you master yourself. You learn that nothing outside of you can truly disturb you unless you let it. You realize that your peace is your own, untouched by the chaos of the world. And in that realization you find a freedom far greater than any argument could ever give you. The ego is always hungry. It craves acknowledgement, reaction, engagement. It wants to be seen, to be heard, to be validated. And because of this, it tricks you into believing that you must always respond, that silence is surrender, that stillness is weakness. For what if silence is the highest form of power? What if true mastery is not in reacting, but in transcending the need to react at all? When you do not respond, you deny the ego its fuel, both your own and that of others. You step beyond the endless cycle of action and reaction, stepping into a space where nothing and no one can disturb your inner peace unless you allow it. Most conflicts in life are not about truth, justice, or even understanding. They are about control. They are about one person trying to impose their will onto another, whether through manipulation, argument, or outright aggression. And the moment you respond, you have accepted the terms of the battle. You have agreed to let their energy dictate yours. But there is another way. Imagine a person yelling into the wind, demanding that it stops blowing. No matter how loudly they scream, the wind does not react. It simply continues to move, unaffected, indifferent. The person becomes exhausted, while the wind remains free. In the same way, when you refuse to respond to provocation, you become untouchable. You become untouchable. You do not give your energy away. You do not allow yourself to be pulled into a storm that is not yours to fight. Think of all the times in your life when you reacted out of impulse, when someone insulted you and you felt the need to defend yourself, when someone criticized you and you rushed to prove them wrong, when someone misunderstood you and you wasted time explaining yourself to a person who had already made up their mind. What did these moments bring you? Did they bring you peace? Did they bring you clarity? Or did they simply pull you further into frustration, anger, and exhaustion? Now think of the moments when you chose silence instead, when you walked away, when you let the words pass through you like air, refusing to let them take root in your mind. Was there not a deeper sense of power in that stillness? A quiet certainty that you did not need to prove anything to anyone? When you do not respond, you create space for the other person to hear their own words. Most people speak without awareness, without thought. They react from habit, from emotion, from unconscious conditioning. They throw words like weapons, hoping to provoke, to control, to gain some sense of power. But when their words meet silence, they are forced to face them alone. Without your reaction, there is no fuel for their fire. They must sit with the weight of what they have said, with the discomfort of their own unresolved emotions. And in that space, transformation is possible. They may begin to see the futility of their aggression. They may begin to question themselves. Or they may continue on as they were, unchanged. But either way, you remain free. This is not about avoidance. It is not about ignoring problems or refusing to stand up for yourself. It is about choosing where your energy goes. It is about recognizing that not every battle is worth fighting, that some battles are won simply by refusing to engage. There is immense strength in knowing when to walk away, when to let go, when to allow silence to speak for you. It is a power that cannot be taken, only surrendered, and the moment you embrace it, you step into a life of true freedom. A life where your peace is no longer at the mercy of the world, but firmly in your own hands. Stillness is a forgotten art in a world that constantly demands reaction. We have been conditioned to believe that to be silent is to be powerless, that to refuse engagement is to lose. But this is one of the great misunderstandings of life. Silence is not absence, it is presence. It is not inaction, it is the highest form of action. It is the act of stepping back and seeing things as they truly are, rather than being pulled into the illusion that every moment requires your response. When you realize this, when you truly embody the understanding that no response is often the most powerful response, you move through life with a grace and authority that cannot be disturbed. People will test you, they will push you, provoke you, try to pull you into their world of reaction and conflict, not because they are evil, but because they themselves are trapped in the cycle of reaction. They do not know another way. Most people live their lives on autopilot, constantly seeking validation, constantly engaging in arguments, constantly needing to prove something. They do not realize that in their desperate need to be right, to be heard, to be acknowledged, they are giving their energy away to forces outside themselves. The moment you recognize this, you step out of the game. You realize that there is nothing to prove, no one to convince, no battle that needs to be fought. Imagine for a moment that you are standing by a river, watching the current move effortlessly past you. If you step into the river, you will be carried by its force, struggling against the movement of the water, losing your balance in the flow. But if you remain on the shore, simply watching, the river continues on without affecting you. This is the difference between reaction and stillness. When you respond to every challenge, every insult, every attempt to provoke you, you step into the river, allowing yourself to be swept away. But when you choose not to respond, you remain grounded, watching the current pass without being consumed by it. It is easy to believe that silence means weakness, that it is an act of avoidance or fear. But true silence is not passive. It is the result of deep awareness. It is the choice to engage only when engagement serves a higher purpose, to speak only when words will add value rather than fuel to the fire. It is the ability to stand in your own power, unshaken, knowing that nothing outside of you can disturb your peace unless you allow it. When you embody this, you move differently. You no longer feel the need to chase after explanations or force people to see your perspective. You no longer waste energy defending yourself against those who have already decided what they want to believe. Instead, you simply exist in a state of calm knowing, free from the endless cycle of reaction. There is immense wisdom in understanding that you do not need to engage in every battle that presents itself. Not because you are afraid, but because you have nothing to prove. The moment you recognize that someone else's anger, judgment, or misunderstanding is not your responsibility, you set yourself free. You begin to see that most conflicts are simply energy traps disguised as important urgent matters, but in truth, they are nothing more than distractions pulling you away from your own peace. The world will always give you opportunities to react. It will always test your ability to remain centered. But you do not have to accept every invitation to chaos. You do not have to answer every call to conflict. There is a deep and unshakable power in silence, in stillness, in choosing not to respond. It is a power that cannot be taken from you, only given away. And when you learn to hold it, you will find that nothing in the world can disturb you unless you allow it. Freedom begins the moment you realize you are not obligated to respond to everything that demands your attention. So much of our suffering comes not from what happens to us, but from our constant need to react. We are conditioned to believe that silence is a void that must be filled, that if someone disrespects us, we must defend ourselves, that if someone misunderstands us, we must explain, that if someone argues, we must argue back, that if someone argues, we must argue back. But this is an illusion. The truth is, you are free the moment you decide to be. The moment you stop allowing external forces to dictate your inner state, you step into a power that most people will never know. Look around at the world. Everywhere you go, people are caught in cycles of reaction. They argue, they defend, they justify, they explain, they seek validation from those who will never give it, chase apologies from those who will never be sorry, and waste energy trying to be understood by people who have already made up their minds. And for what? None of it brings peace. None of it truly resolves anything. It only drains energy, fuels ego, and keeps people locked in an endless struggle. But what happens when you step away from the struggle? What happens when you choose silence instead of defense, stillness instead of reaction? Something extraordinary. The moment you stop engaging, the entire cycle begins to collapse. When someone insults you, they expect resistance. When they criticize you, they expect an argument. When they try to control you, they expect you to fight back. Your reaction is what gives them power. But when you give them nothing, no anger, no defense, no reaction, they are left with only themselves. They are forced to face their own words, their own actions, their own energy, and more often than not, they don't know what to do with it. Without your reaction, their power over you disappears. This is why no response is often the most powerful response, because in that silence you refuse to be controlled. You refuse to be dragged into battles that are not yours. You refuse to waste your energy trying to change people who do not want to change. There is a misconception that choosing not to respond means you are weak, that you are allowing people to walk over you. But the opposite is true. To remain silent in the face of provocation requires far more strength than to react. Anyone can argue. Anyone can fight back. But to hold your ground without being pulled in, to walk away without feeling the need to prove yourself, that is true mastery. It takes wisdom to know when engagement serves a purpose and when it only fuels the fire. It takes power to stand still when the world is trying to push you. Think of the strongest, most unshakable people you have ever known. They are not the ones who argue the loudest, who need to be right, who seek constant validation. They are the ones who move through life with a quiet confidence, who do not waste their energy on things that do not serve them. They know that their time, their peace, their presence is valuable, and they do not give it away carelessly. This is the power of no response. It is the choice to walk away from unnecessary conflict, to refuse to be disturbed by things that do not matter, to remain centered in your own truth regardless of what others say or do. You do not need to explain yourself to those who do not wish to understand. You do not need to prove yourself to those who will never be satisfied. You do not need to fight battles that lead nowhere. True freedom is realizing that you can let go, that you do not have to respond, that in your silence, in your stillness, in your refusal to engage in the noise of the world, you hold the greatest power of all.